They were 8 years old, going on 35. While other kids were being kids, they were the responsible one, the built-in babysitter, the family translator, the one who noticed something was wrong before anyone said a word. They watched the younger ones. They kept the peace. They carried a weight nobody ever actually handed them out loud. And here's the thing, it never switched off. Look at them now. They're the friend who organizes the entire trip, the one everyone brings their problems to, the person who can't sit still on a Sunday, who feels a strange guilt the moment they try to rest, who says, "No, don't worry about me, I'm fine," so automatically they don't even hear themselves do it. If that's someone you know, or if that's you, this isn't just being responsible. Something specific happened in that childhood, and it quietly shaped almost everything about who they became. Let's name it, because there is a name for this. When a child takes on the emotional or practical role of an adult, long before they're ready, psychologists call it parentification. And lately you've probably heard the more specific version everywhere, eldest daughter syndrome. It isn't a clinical diagnosis, but it caught fire for a reason, because it finally puts words to something millions of people lived and never had language for. The oldest child, and so often the oldest daughter, becomes a kind of junior parent, and that role hands them extraordinary strengths. It also quietly costs them something most of them are only now starting to notice. So let's go back. Picture the oldest kid in a family. First, they're the experiment, the one the parents learned how to parent on, which means more rules, more pressure, higher expectations, and a lot less room for error than whoever came after. But it usually runs deeper than that, because when a family needs something, the oldest is right there, closest to hand. A younger sibling who needs watching, a parent who's overwhelmed or working constantly, or simply not coping, and who starts to lean on the oldest. Sometimes it's practical. You made the dinners, you did the school run, you basically helped raise your siblings. Researchers call that instrumental parentification. And sometimes it's emotional. You became your parents' confidant, the one who absorbed the tension, who calmed everyone down, who kept the whole household from tipping over. That's emotional parentification, and it's the heavier one. Now ask what that child learns. They learn that their job is to take care of everyone else, that their own needs come second, or don't really count at all. They learn to scan a room for other people's moods before they've checked in with their own. They become capable, reliable, indispensable, and they trade away a piece of their own childhood to do it, usually without anyone ever noticing the trade was made. And that training doesn't end when they grow up. It just changes costume. It shows up as hyper-responsibility, that deep, automatic assumption that if something needs doing, it's somehow their job. It shows up in their relationships, where they tend to attract people who underfunction, because being the responsible one is the dynamic that feels like home. So they manage their partners, mother their friends, overgive until they're running on empty. It shows up as guilt, a near constant hum of it. Saying no feels selfish. Resting feels like letting someone down. And it shows up in the strangest place of all. They can pour themselves out for everyone around them, but they physically struggle to be taken care of. Being helped feels wrong. Being fussed over makes them want to crawl out of their skin. Gregory Jerkovic, who spent his career studying parentified children, described the double edge of it perfectly. These people grow into genuinely competent, resilient, capable adults, and they also carry a quiet load of anxiety, blurry boundaries, and a habit of measuring their entire worth by how useful they are. Ask a lot of eldest kids what they actually want, just for themselves, and you'll get a long pause. They put themselves last for so long, they lost the thread. Now I want to stop and be honest with you, because this is the part that matters most. From the outside, all of this looks like having it together. The reliable one, the achiever, the rock everybody counts on. And there is real strength in it, that's not nothing. But here's the uncomfortable truth. For a lot of eldest kids, responsible was never a virtue they chose. It was a role they were assigned before they were old enough to refuse it. And the tell is what happens when they finally have nothing to manage. No crisis, no one to look after, an actual empty afternoon. They don't feel free. They feel anxious, restless, a little lost, even guilty. because they never learned how to just exist as a person instead of a function. The rock is usually exhausted, and underneath all that competence, there's often someone still quietly waiting for another person to take care of them the way they have always taken care of everyone else. And if you felt that land, if that's you, I need you to hear this clearly. The fact that you can't rest, can't say no, can't let yourself be looked after is not a character flaw. It's a role you were handed far too early. You weren't born unable to receive care. You were trained out of it by a family that needed you to grow up fast. But you are not 8 years old anymore, and the job you were given back then is not a life sentence. You're allowed to have needs that inconvenience people. You're allowed to be the one who gets taken care of sometimes. Saying no is not abandonment, and your worth was never really about how much you carry. That was just the only version of love you had access to. So start small. Let someone else make the plan. Say the words, "I actually can't take that on right now." Let yourself want something. Ask for it out loud, and watch the people who love you not disappear when you do. Because here's the truth you may have never let yourself believe. You spent your entire childhood making sure everyone else was okay. And somewhere in there, you quietly decided that was the price of being loved, that you had to earn your place by holding things up. But you don't. The people who love you don't need you to be the manager or the fixer or the third parent. They just want you. You're allowed to set some of it down now. You were a child once too, even if no one really let you be one for long. And it is not too late to finally give yourself a little of what you've spent your whole life giving to everyone else. If this one hit close to home, do me a favor and subscribe. This whole channel is about these quiet patterns most of us are never given the words for. And if you want to go deeper on this one, there's something in the pinned comment made specifically for the over-responsible, for learning how to set things down without the guilt. I'll see you in the next one.